Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UBC Engineering Find Your Community Here session. It's really great to see everyone joining us here today to learn a little bit more about how you can find your community at the Vancouver and Okanagan campuses if you decide to join us. My name is Marie, and my pronouns are she, her. I am the Project Manager, Programs and Strategy for the School of Engineering at the UBC Okanagan campus. Both UBC campuses are built on lands that have been home to Indigenous people for thousands of years. I would like to acknowledge that the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we learn, connect, innovate, is the unceded, ancestral, and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. Our Okanagan campus is situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you may be joining us today from many places near and far and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So today we're going to be joined by a few other of my colleagues. We have Kayla who's joining us today, as well as 5 current UBC engineering students across both campuses, and they're going to be here signing on in a little bit to share more about their student experience. Before we dive right into this session, I have a few reminders that are just going to help customize your experience with us today. If you are experiencing any audio or video issues, you can adjust these through the settings in Zoom below. If you are still experiencing issues, please let us know and we can try to help you troubleshoot. This session is really designed for you, so please feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A box below, and that's the box that has the question mark in it. We ask that you submit your questions once so that we have an opportunity to get to as many questions as possible. If there is another question that you're really interested in it being answered, you can upvote that question, and those ones will move to the top of the list. We have also included many helpful resources in the resources tab. So this is the tab that looks like papers stacked on top of each other. If you click on that resources tab, you'll see a list of all different links that you can click on and save onto your own computer. Please note that it will open up in another browser, but you'll be able to return back to Zoom. If you click on the resources tab and then click on the documents tab within that, there is a downloadable PDF that is a summary of many of these resources. Closed captioning is enabled, and you can enable this by clicking on the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. And finally, if you're not able to stay with us for the entire session, a full recording of this session will be shared on our YouTube channel in a few days. So UBC Engineering is one of Canada's best engineering schools, which is consistently reflected in world university rankings. If you choose to join us at UBC, you'll be joining a university which is globally recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, as well as its global impact. World University rankings such as Times Higher Education ranks UBC as number 3 in Canada overall, within the top 40 universities or in the top 5% of all universities in the world. When we look at UBC Engineering specifically, for the last few years, Maclean's ranked UBC Engineering as the number 2 engineering program in Canada based on program and research reputation. We're also home to the largest co-op program in Western Canada, where we have fantastic employer partnerships to set you up for success. Overall, if you join us at UBC, you'll be joining one of the top ranked universities in the world. So we have students in attendance tonight who might have applied to the Okanagan campus, Vancouver campus, or both. While the feel of each campus can be quite different, both campuses' engineering programs are equally prestigious and accredited, where you'll be learning and working with professors who are leaders in their fields. No matter which campus you decide to start at, you'll be starting in a foundational first year, and in that first year, you're going to learn the foundation of your degree, which is really engineering design, chemistry, physics, math, and English, before you continue on further into your program and complete your degree at that campus. Throughout your first year, you will have opportunities to learn more about each of the engineering programs offered at your campus by attending events, chatting with senior engineering students or professors. This will give you a solid understanding of the options available to you and a much better sense of which program is best aligned with your interests and aptitude. At both campuses, students select their program of study at the end of their first year through the program placement process. The Okanagan campus currently has 5 engineering programs. At the UBC Okanagan campus, engineering students are guaranteed placement in their first choice engineering program when they select at the end of their first year. The programs currently accepting new students include civil, computer, electrical, and mechanical engineering. At the UBC Vancouver campus, there are 14 engineering disciplines for students to choose from. At the Vancouver campus, placement into these programs at the end of your first year is a competitive process, and some programs may have additional requirements, such as an interview or specific course prerequisites. Overall, students will get much more information about that placement process and requirements throughout their first year. Select top applicants may also be offered guaranteed placement to one of our 13 undergraduate programs at the Vancouver campus, with the exception of engineering physics. For students interested in biomedical engineering, there is also the pre-biomedical timetable that allows you to specialize your courses a little further in first year to better prepare you for biomedical engineering. Once you are admitted to the Vancouver campus, you'll receive an email with more details about this. There are also information sessions happening once a month or so, which are all listed on our engineering events webpage. So one of the best things about pursuing a Bachelor of Applied Science at UBC is the ability to customize your degree. From the very start, you will be exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. You'll have courses year after year that continue to build on those project-based team learning experiences, culminating in your final year with your capstone design project, where you and your peers work with industry partners to solve real-world problems. Students who are interested in research also have the opportunity to gain paid research experience, and this could be through applying for some of our scholarships that are called NSERC USRA or IUSRA. So these are available for both domestic and international students. There's also work learn or work study opportunities, which are paid work research terms that are typically actually throughout your normal winter terms between September and April. So you're actually doing research while you're in courses. Or you can look for volunteer opportunities in some of these labs. You can also participate in clubs like the Undergrad Research Organization, which helps pair students with areas of research that they are interested in. So lots of different avenues if you're interested in research. You may also choose to pursue a minor or a dual degree, which would allow a focus on a secondary area of study. At the Vancouver campus, minors are usually applied for in their third year, but you can start taking courses towards the minors earlier in your degree. If you're interested in the dual degree, you can apply for that during your first year. At the Okanagan campus, students can add a minor. Students are eligible to apply for a minor at the end of their first year of study after they select their program. The Engineering plus Master of Management dual degree can be applied for when you apply to UBC. There are also additional concentrations within the programs that students can pursue, like aerospace, biomedical, environmental, mechatronics, or resilient infrastructure management. A concentration is basically like a grouping of courses that you would take in your upper year, typically in your fourth year, that are around a specific topic. Another way to customize your degree is to explore the world and go on an exchange through UBC's Go Global program or our faculty's own program, the Coordinated International Experience. Coordinated International Experience is a Go Global program, but it's customized specifically for engineering students. We have 17 partner institutions across the world in Asia, Australia, and Europe, where you can take pre-mapped engineering-related courses at those institutions. Partners include ETH Zurich, the National University of Singapore, and the University of Melbourne, just to name a few. So lastly, I wanted to chat a little bit about co-op. So engineering students at both campus can apply for Applied Science Co-op program. This is an optional program, which is a fantastic way to get paid to learn and gain real work experience before you graduate. Our co-op program provides our students with over 16 months of paid full-time work experience. It doesn't matter which campus you study at, all students have access to the same co-op opportunities on the same job board. To qualify for co-op, engineering students will need to have second year standing and meet minimum academic requirements. So there are many ways for engineering students to find their community at both of our campuses. We have an engineering undergraduate society at both the Vancouver and Okanagan campus. We have our EIDEAs, which is Engineering Inclusivity, Diversity, and Equity Advancement for Student Clubs for members of the 2SL LGBTQIA plus community, women, Black, Indigenous, and Chinese students. We also have engineering design teams and clubs, which are a great way to find your community while gaining hands-on experience and applying the theory you learn in class. We have a video that is playing on this slide here that's showing just little snippets of some of the experiences of our engineering design teams. Students can also connect with industry professionals and alumni through our engineering mentorship program and industry nights. These programs and events are a great way to build your networking skills, learn more about different industries, and build transferable skills. These opportunities are open to all engineering students at all year levels, so students can join right from their first year. So I know that was a lot of information that I have shared with you. That is all for my part of the presentation today. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Kayla, and she is going to start our student panel for today. Over to you, Kayla.
Thank you, Marie. Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Soriano. I am the Engineering Admissions Coordinator here on the UBC Okanagan campus. We have an amazing group of students here. They're going to share their experiences with you all, so I'm going to jump right into the introductions. First off, I will hand it over to Anoop to introduce herself.
Thanks, Kayla. Hi, everyone. My name is Anoop, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm a fourth year civil engineering student at the UBC Vancouver campus, graduating this May. And over my 5 years here at UBC, I've completed 16 months of interning at 3 different companies in the civil engineering discipline, so construction management, structural engineering, as well as transportation and traffic engineering. Currently, I'm also the president of Women in Engineering UBC, and previously I led the civil and construction team within UBC's first green building design team, so that's third quadrant design. I've also previously spent my third year doing a work learn position as a content creator for UBC Engineering students, UBC Engineering Stories. And I also was part of a dance team for 2 years on campus. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you, Anoop. Much appreciated. Next up, we have Anshu.
Hello everyone, my name is Anshu. I am a fifth year civil engineering student at the UBC Vancouver campus. I am also in my final term. I'm working with Capstone and wrapping up my final term at UBC Vancouver, hoping to graduate in the summer of May. I am currently the co-captain of UBC Smart City, and I'm also working with another design team, UBC Steelbridge, as the innovation sub-team lead. I've gotten to co-op in my second year, and I was working with a firm that was working on telecommunication infrastructure and urban design across Alberta and British Columbia. And right now, I'm also working with one of my professors on parametric modeling of tower crane analysis. And I was also I also got to be a delegate for the AC UESC Pipeline Conference. So it's been a lot of experiences across my engineering time at UBC, and I hope we'll get to experience a similar time.
That's awesome. Thank you, Anshu. Next up, we have Josh.
Thank you, Kayla. I'm also a student here at UBC Vancouver and also in the civil engineering program, where I am in my third academic year and will be graduating next year in 2027. I say third academic year because I've also done a year of co-op at Chandos Construction, who are a general contractor out here in Vancouver, but also have offices in Kelowna and across the country. Like Anshu, I'm part of UBC's Steel Bridge, where I'm part of the fabrication and finance teams. So that's been a fun experience getting to apply some learning outside of the classroom as part of a community. And on I guess a fun fact on a non-engineering basis, I'm also part of UBC's Quiz Bowl team, which is essentially a trivia competition where we participate in competitions around North America. Back to you, Kayla.
Thank you, Josh. Awesome. Our next panelist is Bella.
Hi everyone, my name is Bella and I am a third year mechanical engineering student at the Okanagan campus. I'm also getting my minor in computer science. I love being part of clubs, so I'm currently the Okanagan Engineering Society's VP Student Life for this year. Um, and I am also a management and mechanical team member for our marine robotics team. And a fun fact there on the slide is that I just went to my first conference in Boston for women in engineering at Harvard. So that was super cool.
Thank you, Bella. All right. And our final panelist is Gordon.
Hey everyone, my name is Gordon. I'm a final year mechanical engineering student at the Okanagan campus. During my time here at UBC, I've been fortunate enough to complete many co-ops in different fields of engineering. Um, Engineering in, I guess, industrial engineering, mechanical, and manufacturing. The main co-op experience I have is with Tesla, but another company I want to highlight is Human in Motion Robotics. They are a startup company in Vancouver that specializes in robotics exoskeletons for those with mobile disabilities. To kind of summarize that, it's basically robotic suits for those in wheelchairs or yeah, mobile disabilities. On campus, I am the current president and mechanical technical director for UBC Motorsports. Um, as part of this team, I've had a lot of opportunities to attend competitions, conferences, and yeah, become, I guess, a panelist for things like this. Yeah.
Thank you, Gordon. Awesome. So thank you, everyone. We're so glad to have you here. We're not going to waste a moment, and we're going to jump right into, right into our prepared questions for our panelists. So first question is for Bella and Anoop. How was your transition from high school to university? What helped you find your community, like joining a club, living in residence, attending orientation? Bella, you can go first.
Sure. Honestly, it was hard for me. I moved out of province from Calgary, so it was really my first time being away from home. But I remember something that really helped me was, of course, living on residence in my first year. But I also did the Jumpstart orientation, and that's kind of where you get to move in a week before classes actually start. And it was there that I made a lot of my friends. I thought that I was scared of making friends, but really everyone in residence is in the same boat, so it is quite easy to get up the courage to talk to people and make friends that way. But I think what really helped me was joining a club. In my first year, I mustered up the courage to go to an event myself, and it was being run by the Filipino Student Association. And from there, I joined the exec team. I got really involved, and I made some of my best friends that year in FSA that I'm still friends with now. So I would definitely say, if you're thinking about it, join a club.
Yeah, I can jump off of Bella's response. I think similar to Bella, I also found the jump from high school to university quite a big one. Just in terms of like having 5 to 6 courses per semester and larger class sizes. And personally, I was commuting an hour or so from home to campus, just one way. But I think within like the first month, I realized there's just a lot of resources available on the UBC Vancouver campus that you can take advantage of. So in terms of courses, I know I started making use of office hours, which are kind of these smaller environment opportunities to talk to your TAs and your professors and get help. The EUS, which is the Engineering Undergraduate Society, they also provide midterm review sessions, which are offered by upper years. So you get a lot of mentorship and get to see the community of engineering there. And there's the Math Learning Center and AMS tutoring. And then outside of that, I noticed that UBC also had offered UBC Collegia, which is like a space around campus where you can refrigerate your food and microwave it, which I think is so important for us commuters. And then you just have a cozy environment to meet other people and study. So I'd say take advantage of that. And like Bella said, go to the first year engineering events or even just all of the clubs that are offered at both universities. There's definitely a club for you. So go to those events. They're usually free. I know I met a lot of my friends there. I joined Women in Engineering in first year, and I'll talk about that hopefully later today. But yeah, I would say just try to make time for yourself as well.
Thank you, Bella and Danoop. Yes, I know those transitions can be hard, so appreciate you sharing the social and academic advice. All right, so this next one is for Gordon, Anshu, and Josh. Design teams are a fabulous opportunity to gain hands-on engineering experience outside of the classroom. Tell us a little bit more about your team and your favorite thing that you've got to work on with your team so far. Gordon, would you mind starting first?
Yeah. So UBC on Motorsports, we kind of develop internal combustion and EV kind of formula style race cars. And every year we build a new race car and we take it to Michigan and we compete against all the top universities around the world. So that's all your Ivy Leagues, a lot of the European teams and even teams from Asia. Within this team, we have many kind of different aspects, from electrical engineering, mechanical, even management and business and kind of everything in between. I guess my favorite thing that I've worked on within this team, I spent a lot of time working on the frame or chassis of the car, and that allowed me to work very closely with a lot of my peers and a lot of my even faculty and people in industry, and it gave me a lot of experience that I could now take and kind of push on to more different projects, pass on to different members, and it was just a really fun experience overall that helped me connect with my community and kind of yeah, my team.
Thank you, Gordon. It's awesome. Anshu, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So with design teams, I'm involved with two design teams, UBC Smart City and UBC Steel Bridge. I'll let Josh speak about UBC Steel Bridge in detail. UBC Smart City, it's a very interdisciplinary team. We get to work on transportation solutions, energy modeling, GIS-based solutions, a lot of urban planning. And one of the projects that I really loved, and which is something that I led, was you're working on smart parking infrastructure. And our goal was to use existing CCTV infrastructure in these parkades and use machine learning to detect empty spots and relay that to like CarPlay or Android CarPlay systems or your Google Maps, so you don't have to spend a lot of time navigating urban traffic and trying to find a parking spot. So it is one of the cooler projects that I did. But what I really like about design teams is that it gives, there are a lot of design teams, but being in these two design teams, it lets me be in a community that I really love to engage with. It's to to be honest, it feels like a meeting family. You're meeting a lot of your friends. You're coming together, working on a project that you all love to do. So it's been really fulfilling.
Thank you, Anshu.
Yeah, to continue with what Andrew introduced, so for UBC Steel Bridge, we essentially design, fabricate, and construct a steel bridge that's over 20 feet long and tested to be loaded with over 2,000 pounds of weight. And so how that works is, and what I enjoy about it is it's essentially a full sort of engineering problem. We have to design something that is structurally efficient, but we also want a design that is easy to construct and efficient in terms of putting pieces together and making sure that you're able to assemble it as quick as possible. And what I like about Steel Bridge is that there's something for everybody. So Anshu mentioned he's on the innovation team, so they work a lot with the design of the bridge and how it will perform structurally, whereas I'm on the fabrication team. So we get to cut the pieces and put them together and see how it all comes to life. And I personally enjoyed that aspect because it's something I get to see outside of the classroom in terms of working with my hands and doing something a little different. And I think my favorite experience with Steel Bridge is working with some of our industry sponsors who supply us with materials and funding. And with our sponsors, we get to see how some industry practices when it comes to steelworking and working with direct materials and in a proper steel shop, we get to see how that on an industry level can be applied to a university design team. And I thought it was really interesting to see beyond the classroom how things work on an experience level that you might see in a co-op or in your future career.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, all three of you. Yeah, design teams really open you up to real world experiences and whole new networks. So really appreciate you sharing those experiences. All right, question number 3 is for Bella. Tell us a little more about the Engineering Society, also known as ENGSOC, and how quickly students can get connected.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I am this year's student life for the Okanagan Engineering Society. But basically, the Okanagan ENGSOC, or I believe Vancouver's is the Engineering Undergraduate Society, are both organizations run by engineering students. Basically, both of their purposes are to provide all the students with resources, or direct them to resources throughout the campus, whatever they may need. It's kind of like a first point of contact that all engineering students can go to. We really aim to support and advocate for students to the student unions and even to the engineering departments. And throughout the year, both of these societies host both academic and social events throughout the year to foster that community between all the engineering students. And yeah, like I was saying, a big part of NSOC is to provide that space and community regardless of the year. And a big example of this is for me, I organized Frosh Week. This is like a week in September, and the whole purpose is to welcome everyone to campus, but especially to help make those first years welcome. For example, we had that week-long event started with in-person welcomes in each of the lectures. So the NSOC team and the SOE kind of joined together and welcomed all the students in the first year lectures. And we also did a Women in Engineering tote bag painting night. We had a social at our campus's pub. But basically, just a whole week of events to make everyone feel welcome. But throughout the year, there's also initiatives like Frosh kits, which sold lab coats, calculators, all of those kinds of things that you would need in one place. But we also offer midterm de-stress bags and midterm review sessions to help you review for your midterms and for finals.
Thank you, Bella. Really appreciate that. And SOC does do a lot. So thanks for sharing. All right. The next question I have is for Anoop. Women in Engineering offers so many events and opportunities for students to get connected. Please tell us about some of your favorite events you've got to be a part of with the WIE.
Yeah, thanks, Kayla. So as I mentioned before, I'm currently the president of Women in Engineering UBC campus. And for some background context, we were established by students and faculty to basically increase the celebration, inclusion, and development of women at UBC Vancouver campus. And it's definitely hard to choose one event because I love them all. Though I think the more relevant one would be the high school mentorship program. So I remember when I was in grade 12, I was unsure of engineering and whether it was the career path for me. And so I joined as a mentee, part of this program. And that really just meant that I was paired with 2 to 3 other high school students with a mentor that was studying at UBC Vancouver. So they were in their undergrad. My mentor was a civil engineering student, which may have biased me towards civil. But really, it was just an opportunity to get to know a lot about engineering and what it offers, the design teams, and the different clubs at UBC. And I think since I was the mentee, I know the program has now evolved to include campus tours to kind of showcase the laboratories that students get to work within, the lecture halls. We also have a design challenge. So we previously did a Rube Goldberg machine, and then this year we had a bridge competition. And now we also include student and industry panelists. And I think once I came back to UBC my first year, I realized I wanted to give back, so I joined as a mentor, and have since then been able to mentor some incoming students at UBC. And in addition to that, we have lots of other events. We've got community engagement events, so we do like decorating contests. We did a potluck in October, a movie night, and we have our WISE annual networking event coming up in a week. So if you're interested, I'd highly encourage you guys to join when you enter UBC.
Thank you, Anoop. It sounds like you have a lot of events, and I appreciate you sharing that full circle experience from mentee to mentor. That's really great. Awesome. Okay, question number 5 is for Josh. What is the best way to find a design team that interests you, and how early can you join?
Thank you, Kayla. I think right now, before you've started even at engineering, you can still find a design team that interests you just by researching online. I know Steel Bridge and most, if not all, other design teams have a pretty strong online presence. So if you just Googled UBC Vancouver, UBC Okanagan design teams, you could find ones that interest you. You can also find a lot of them on Instagram. So for Steel Bridge, we're on Instagram at UBC Steel Bridge. And you could always just shoot a message if you have any questions or are interested in learning more about the team. As for how early you can join, I think this varies from team to team. We personally have applications open for from summer and also have a general round of applications in fall. I figure many other design teams have a similar process. Uh, but I think especially for first year applicants, you might want to wait until the fall because then you would have had a chance to meet these teams in person. Because in Vancouver, and I'm sure Kelowna does something similar, there's a big event in the first week of classes or right before classes have actually started. Here it's called Imagine Day, and it's essentially a big clubs fair where you can walk around and see all sorts of design teams as well as other student associations and clubs and see different ones which interest you. And for the design teams, they're usually grouped right next to each other, so you can see the different cars and bridges and towers and all sorts of deliverables that design teams make, and see which ones interest you. And you can talk to the booths because they'll have people there, and you can ask any questions, and they'll be super receptive of your questions. So I guess to summarize that, you can always find out more about these teams online and on social media. But when you arrive to campus, they will also be ready to answer your questions there. So if you want to try to join in the summer, you definitely can. But they will definitely be ready to receive you in the fall as well.
Thank you, Josh. Sounds like there's many ways to get connected, and I can confirm there are club fairs on both campuses. All right. So last question here is for Gordon and Anshu. We know lots of students are also interested in making industry connections and building soft skills to prepare them for their career after graduation. Can you speak to how your involvement in your design team might support your future career? Gordon, would you mind going first?
Yeah, I think joining a design team is an excellent way to kind of support your future career. Anoop mentioned earlier that the I guess Engineering Society and even Women in Engineering have mentorship programs in Vancouver. But I think student design teams are an excellent way to also gain more technical mentorship. You're able to kind of work with more senior members on technical projects throughout the year. Um, and having these mentorships aren't always about kind of the projects on design teams as well. If you have questions about co-ops, assignments, or anything related to kind of engineering or anything, these are people that you've worked with a lot and are close to, and that can help you through these issues. Um, in student design teams also, you're able to kind of potentially work on or learn a lot of things that you might be able to have experience with before you learn it in lectures. For me, I was able to kind of get experience with CAD or computer aided design, or also other manufacturing techniques before I learned it in class. So for me, that helped better my understanding and learning for, yeah, more kind of when it's time to get exams. Um, Working in student design teams also allows me to work with industry partners. Working with the local community helps build a personal connection with these people. So when it's time to look for a co-op or more opportunities, these are people I've worked with. They know kind of how, yeah, we have a relationship. They know how it works or how I work. And so it helps build rapport for when they're looking for co-ops and I'm looking for opportunities as well. I guess last thing I want to add is that um, in student design teams, you come across a lot of different scenarios, and it really helps build soft skills and even technical skills. Um, when we're looking for co-ops or even full-time jobs, they usually split interviews into behavioral questions and technical questions. Having experience in student design teams gave me a lot of talking points for behavioral questions. And so that gave me more time to focus on maybe the fundamentals or technical questions. And yeah, I think student design teams are a good way to support your future.
Yeah. To expand on what Gordon just went over, I personally think that you, as first year, we're going to learn a lot of new softwares going into all your first year courses. But design teams give you that whiteboard, that creative space to really hone skills in these softwares and really put them to practice. And that's just from technical perspective. When I joined Smart City in my, I think, second year, I got to learn a lot of programming. I was in civil engineering, but I got to learn a lot of programming, front end, back end development. And that was something I was really interested to pursue on the side while I was still learning structural engineering. And from soft skills, I would say when I was looking for co-ops, I realized how much I have learned from design teams because to hold myself in a meeting, to present my design, the quality of my deliverable, to coordinate and communicate effectively with my peers, these are all things that I got to hone during my time at design teams, and that really played a huge role in me excelling in my co-op tasks as well. To making industry connections, I would say that a lot of design teams have huge sponsorship bands, and a lot of design teams have lunch and learns with these sponsors. So as members, we get to go to them. We get to have free food, pizza, and refreshments, and also engage with these industry sponsors. And that's you can make a lot of good connections in the industry. You can connect via LinkedIn, reach out to them via email, and it's a huge industry connection that we get to have when we are in a design team. And also from your upper years, when I got to join, I had a mentor assigned to me, an upper year student who had different co-op experiences. And it kind of helps us navigate and helps us understand what we want and what kind of job we are looking for, what kind of industry we're hoping to be in. So it's a huge asset to be in a design team. And it really helps out a lot when you're applying for your very first co-op because it really sets you apart. You're in a design team, you're doing a lot of different work, you're putting in a lot of effort, and that goes a long way for your employer as well.
Thank you, Gordon and Anshu. Yes, sounds like being on a design team, you get a lot of real world and professional experience. So thank you for sharing. All right, and thank you to all of our panelists for answering so thoughtfully and sharing all of your unique experiences. That's it for our prepared questions. So I'm going to pass it back to Marie now as we move into our Q&A portion of the presentation to get some of your questions answered.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you all. We have some really great questions coming into the Q&A, really building off of everything you guys have shared. I have answered a few of these questions. I've typed some answers. So if you asked any questions about anything admissions related or transfer related, I have typed answers to your questions. So you can find those answers in the answered section of the Q&A. The first question I'm going to start with, and then I have a few questions for each of you. So the first question here is, how large are the classes in engineering during first year and after first year? Will engineering students have access to labs outside of class time? So at the Okanagan campus, the incoming cohort size is around 400 students. And at the Vancouver campus, the first year incoming cohort is around 1,000 students. At both campuses, you can expect your first year lecture size to be max around 200 to 300 students to fit in one of our normal lecture theaters. So you won't be in a class with 1,000 students at the Vancouver campus. You are at either campus around 200 to 300. And then you also have discussions and labs, and those are really depending on the course. They can range between 30 and 50 students in those discussion and lab sections. So you do have those smaller classes as well. After first year, the class sizes do get smaller. As after first year, you're going to choose your program, right? So at Vancouver campus, that will vary depending on the program you're in. Same with the Okanagan campus, but again, you're not going to see lecture sizes bigger than that, usually around 200 to 250 students when you're going to your program. As you get up into your fourth year courses, there is a lot of electives to choose from. So we're usually seeing between anywhere between 30 students to 100 students in some of those elective classes. Engineering students having access to labs outside of class time, that would really depend on what you're using the lab for, right? Sometimes engineering design teams have access to labs to use those, like machine shops and wood shops, to be able to use those for their design team projects. If you're thinking access to labs to make up a lab, that would be something that you would discuss directly with your professor. So the next question I have will be for one of our students here who is supported or part of a design team, which I know there are many of you. So whoever feels most comfortable answering, please feel free to unmute. And the question is building off of the discussion we already had about when can you join a design team? And what they're asking is, how do design teams decide who they select? Is it a competitive process? Does everyone get in? And how and how manageable is it to be on a design team while taking a full engineering course load? So whoever feels like they would like to answer that.
I'm happy to pitch in here.
Perfect.
I think with respect to the application process, there is a bit of a competitive element in that not everybody gets in, but it's not necessarily based on experience, at least not for Steel Bridge, because we don't really expect you to have any experience. Rather, it's just showing a willingness to learn, because the idea is that you would learn everything with the design team. And so experience is welcome, but certainly not mandatory. And as for the managing a workload while on a design team, the majority of design teams meet on Saturdays or the weekend in general. So you would be missing some time on the weekend that you might have lined up for schoolwork or for other affairs. Uh, but I would say the majority of students on a design team tend to be in a full workload, and cumulatively, a design team might take up anywhere from 2 to 8 hours of your week, depending on the team. At the end of the day, it's definitely something that people do while still in full course load, and being part of that design team network as well helps you support you through your workload.
That's great. Thank you. I see Gordon, you unmuted. Do you want to add something as well?
Yeah, I can kind of add on to that. I think depending on the design team, it will vary how hard it is to get into the team. Some of the teams in Vancouver are notorious for being super hard to get in. Um, I think in the Okanagan, we're a little less, I guess, strict with people that we accept. But I think the main thing that all design teams are looking for are people that are curious, that want to learn and are willing to stick around and kind of work through a lot of the hard problems and ask questions if they need help. Um, in terms of how manageable it is to be on an engineering design team, um, it's not for everyone. A lot of people on engineering design teams do end up leaving the team because it is a lot of work. But I think that those that stick through it and are able to kind of work through that, I guess their time management, I think you find that the more you put in, the more you get out of it. And so I think it really depends on the person.
Thanks, Gordon. And Anoop, did you want to add?
Yeah, just to add on to Gordon and Josh, I know my design team, Third Quadrant Design, we had a mentorship program. So for anyone who didn't formally get a position on the team, they were included as part of the mentorship team, and they kind of floated through the different sub teams to get exposure. And that really prepped you for applications the following year. And I know some other design teams, at least at the Vancouver campus, might do the same. So don't be dismotivated if you don't get that position. You can always reach out and ask if you can just float around and shadow some of the members.
That's great. Thank you all for sharing. And like you all mentioned, does take time management, right, to be part of a design team. And the other thing that we always say is engineering students take 4, 5, 6 years to complete their degree, and that's because our engineering students do a lot of different things. They're building their experience while they can here at university, and that might be through a design team, through co-op, through studying abroad. And so there is opportunities for students to reduce course load in order to make some time as well, to be able to have extra time for a design team. So if that's something that's really important to you, we always have academic advisors who are there to help, to be able to help you with that workload and time management piece as well. This really aligns with another question that has come in, which is related to if a student can complete their degree in 4 years and do co-op. So a student won't be able to complete their degree in 4 years and do co-op. Co-op does add a year onto your degree. It is 16 months of paid work experience. So that's if you do the full co-op program and you get the co-op designation on your transcript, okay, or on your diploma. So if someone does start co-op and decide that they're not able to do that extra year, that is something that they might do one term, but you wouldn't get co-op on your diploma as a designation. If you are planning to stay and work in Canada, the great thing about co-op is that if you are supervised by a professional engineer, you can actually count those months of co-op experience towards your engineering training, which is a process that you will do after you graduate towards getting your professional engineering designation. So it is something that counts. It's not like you've lost that year, and you also get a lot of great work experience. Students will learn a lot more about co-op in their first year. And we also have a co-op session that we did a few weeks ago, and there's an extensive recording about how that works and how that aligns with your coursework. So I highly recommend you check that out if you weren't able to make it. I now have a question about co-op for our students who have joined us today, and that is, how challenging was it to find a co-op position? And do you get support for how to make your resume and how to apply? What supports were available to you through the co-op program? I'll let you guys unmute it. I know many of you have done co-op.
I think I can answer it to some extent. I was in the co-op program, I think, after my second year, and it was, I would say there were a lot of sessions where they would go over your resumes, how to tailor your resumes to the job postings, how to make a cover letter, and you also get a co-op advisor. And I would always reach out to my co-op advisor and ask whether this resume is appropriate. Is it actually capturing what the job is asking of the candidate? So it's a lot of one-on-ones, and it's definitely challenging to get co-op as you're entering the industry for the very first time. And if it's a summer co-op term, it's even more challenging because everyone's looking for a summer work term. But there's a lot of support systems. You'll have your peer advisors as well from when you're in the co-op program. You'll have professional peer advisors as well. I would say definitely make use of these opportunities to interact with them, reach out to them, and send them your resume. I'll get feedback. It will go a long way in making sure you get your first placement. Yeah.
That is great advice. Thank you so much. Was there anybody else who wanted to add anything? Good, that's covered. Awesome. Thank you so much. So we have another question here about workload. So how heavy is the workload for engineering, and how much time do you have to do other things outside of class and schoolwork per week? Bella, do you mind if I pass that to you to start? And maybe you can also talk a little bit about how students are supported by engineering societies, and professors as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely tough. I would say for me, especially coming from high school, I was someone that didn't quite study a whole lot in high school. So coming into engineering, it was definitely a big change for me. I am doing the six course track a semester. So that's six courses a semester plus all the labs. I find that for me, if you set aside the time to study, like really for me, I had to learn that like my Google Calendar is my best friend. I have to plan out when I'm gonna study and everything. Um, but if you are able to find a schedule that works for yourself and you kind of really get used to it, especially if you're doing it over 4 years, and that you make use of office hours and your tutorials and your TAs and you're asking those questions that you have, it definitely becomes more manageable. And even before I was in the Engineering Society, attending those midterm review sessions really helped me because they're led by peers and TAs. So you really get different perspectives. And for myself, I was a lot more comfortable asking questions to peers compared to TAs and my profs at first. So having those chances to ask kind of everyone those questions was really good. But yeah, I would say overall it's tough, but there's definitely the resources offered by both the school, the engineering society, and even probably the other clubs that are there to help you.
Thank you so much, Bella. That was a great overview. Did anybody want to share anything else about workload management? Any great tips you might have in that area or lessons learned that you want to share? We have time for one more person to share if you would like. Guys feel good? Awesome. Perfect. That's great. So I have a few questions that I am going to just quickly address here before I bring it back to our student panelists. We have one question here about do engineering classmates who are varsity athletes, we're wondering how realistic it is to balance an engineering course load and the demands of being a student athlete. So we do have engineering students who are athletes. There are advisors who support those students, and we work directly with them related to course planning, how many courses they take per term to balance their requirements or basically their responsibilities related to their athletics. This can vary depending on what sport that person is a part of and their practices and tournaments. So again, it is possible. Typically, it is an extended degree for engineering students who are varsity athletes, but that's something that you would discuss directly with an advisor, and they would help you with that course planning. We have another question here, two that are specific to types of programming. The first one is around aerospace engineering and courses and programs related to this. At both campuses for engineering, we have an aerospace option is called at the Vancouver campus and concentration at the Okanagan campus. Essentially, they mean the same thing. They're just two different words. It's a grouping of courses related to a specific topic. At both campuses, these are available for students who are in mechanical engineering. So if you are interested in the aerospace concentration or specializing within that, you would want to look in more detail related to mechanical engineering at both campuses. We have a question here about arts programs offered and when we'll take those courses. Both campuses do offer a minor in arts, and the time where you can start those minors varies on the campus. At the Vancouver campus, most minors begin in your third year. At the Okanagan campus, students can actually apply for minors at the end of their first year after they've selected their program, and then you take those courses throughout your remaining years. Minors typically add time onto your degree, so that's something you're going to want to talk to an academic advisor about. We do have a question here about housing beyond first year. So, like Bella had mentioned, you can live in residence in your first year. Just as a reminder to everyone here, there is for incoming first year students, there is a guaranteed first year housing if you apply by May 1st. So you can do that now. If you've already applied to UBC, you can apply for that guaranteed housing as an incoming first year student. A reminder is if you've applied to both campuses, there are two different applications for Vancouver housing and Okanagan housing. So make sure if you're not sure which campus you want to attend yet, you'd want to apply to both of those housing if you're before May 1st. After first year, a lot of students live off campus. At that point, there is not as much on-campus housing, but there's a lot of resources. Does anybody have any tips at all for off-campus housing from your experience?
I can speak to that. I personally didn't look into off-campus housing, but I know some friends heavily relied on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, similar websites, to see what available options there are. And I think you can usually pretty easily get a basement near UBC campus, the Vancouver one. So I would say maybe look towards those.
Perfect. And I know on the housing websites, they actually have specific off-campus housing pages that have handbooks and they have links for how you can find housing and resources to make sure that you're finding safe housing. And so I highly recommend at that when you're in first year, if you decide you're not going to try to live on campus again, that you can start looking into that and seeing what's available while you're still in the city and see what neighborhoods you like and where you'd like to live off campus. So I know we're getting towards the end of our session with all of you today. Before we wrap up, I wanted to send one more question back to all of our amazing student panelists who've joined us here today. And that is, what advice would you give to an incoming first year engineering student? Or if you could go back and give yourself advice, if you could do that, what advice would you give? I'm just going to start from the person I see next to me. So let's start with Josh.
Thanks, Murray. I think in terms of advice, it's just important to bear in mind that it's not an easy process necessarily to transition to university, especially with the intensive workload. But I think sort of what this panel is for, finding your community, I think that really helps set you off on the right track because realizing that all of your peers are in the same situation and all of you have each other as a support network is definitely a great first step forward in terms of finding your footing and helping to make that transition into university.
Thank you, Josh. Over to Anshu.
Uh, I think my advice to myself would be it's okay to take your time. There's going to be a lot of clubs, a lot of design teams, a lot of activities when you're first in on UBC campuses. You don't have to try and fit in into all of them. Find something that you want. Take your time in finding what you want. There's no rush. No one's rushing you. It's at your pace. So don't be in a rush to get into something or fit into something that you're not interested in. Just take your time, and it's all going to work out.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. And over to Bella.
For me, I'd say that engineering at UBC opens a lot of doors for you, and it's never a bad thing to take those opportunities, because this is your chance to do that, even if you're scared to. A big thing I wish that I knew when I started is that I felt like I didn't have enough knowledge or experience to join a design team or engineering club or research lab. But what I've learned is that you really don't need to know anything to join those. Like we mentioned earlier, just go in with a mindset of growth and a willingness to learn, and you'll be set.
Thank you, Bella. And to Gordon.
Yeah, I want to echo kind of some similar points that Bella brought up. Um, Engineering does open up a lot of doors for you. I think it's an interesting question for me because when I was applying for university, I was actually considering between engineering and computer science. Um, but I think if you have an interest in engineering, you want to solve real world problems and want to make an impact on the world, I think you should take that chance in engineering, because it does open a lot of doors. I've had a lot of friends in first year that after trying it, it wasn't for them and they transferred to something else. A lot of the courses you take in engineering are transferable, and so it still helps you complete other degrees if you transfer out, but that may not be the case the other way around. If you take something else, you might not be able to transfer into engineering and have those credits stay with you.
Thank you, Gordon. And over to you, Anoop.
Yeah, just to kind of echo what everyone else said, I guess sounds a bit cliche, but stop and smell the roses. Like take some time for yourself, every week to just do something you like doing besides engineering. I kind of started a rule for myself where every Friday I would just set aside like 2 to 3 hours to either participate in an event on campus or hang out with friends. There's so many opportunities to get involved, and just have some fun. So make sure you take some time out for yourself as well.
Thank you, Anoop, and thank you all for that advice. I'm hearing a lot of some great messaging is taking some time for yourself, really taking the time to find your community and to do things outside of the classroom. Your academics are very important, but also having community, doing fun things with your friends, attending events also are a really big part of your degree, building your network, and really having that well-rounded experience that is going to make you into that great engineer that we hope all of you will be if you decide to join us. So that really wraps up our session today. I just have a few items that I wanted to review, and that's ways that you can stay connected after the event today. So you can keep an eye out for emails from UBC Engineering. That's going to have a lot of important information and about our engineering programs, registration, and upcoming events. In our emails, we'll often feature UBC Engineering ambassadors, and you can start a chat with them at any point in time. These students are from both of our campuses. They've been on design teams, they've done co-op, exchange, many other experiences. So you can reach out to them and ask any questions you have about these student experiences. Please note, though, that they're not able to answer any questions about admission, study permits, or your application. We do have several events coming up at the end of March and throughout April. For more information about all of our upcoming events, you can visit our events webpage, which is on this slide here and also linked in our resources tab. You can also find more engineering and campus-wide events on our undergraduate programs and admissions page, u.ubc.ca. After this event today, there will be an option for you to fill out a survey to let us know what you thought about this event. And upon completion, you'll also be entered to win a UBC hoodie if you would like to be. So that will pop up right after the end of this event today. So I just want to say a really big thank you to everyone who has joined us today. Thank you to Kayla for joining and supporting the event, as well as all of our students for sharing all of their experience and advice. I really, truly enjoyed getting to hear about all of the amazing things that each of you have done throughout your degree. And thank you to everyone who has joined us here today, all of our applicants from all over the world. We really appreciate you taking some time to learn about how you can find your community at UBC at either of our campuses. So thank you so much. We hope that you have a great morning, afternoon, evening for wherever you're joining us from. And hopefully we'll see you in September if you decide to join us. Great. Thank you, everybody.